You'd expect to find ancient graves in typical locations like old battlefields, ruins, or known burial grounds. But some of the most puzzling graves have been discovered in places that make no logical sense, like isolated mountain peaks, frozen wastelands, and even beneath modern-day buildings. These graves do not match our expectations of where ancient people lived or died. Their presence in such strange locations has left archaeologists baffled. These findings challenge long-held beliefs about ancient human migration, technology, and behavior. They reveal that early humans were far more complex and mobile than previously assumed. Lulayayaco, Argentina, mummies on a volcano. At over 22,000 feet above sea level, the summit of Mount Lulayaco in Argentina is one of the last places you expect to find an ancient burial site. But in 1999, archaeologists discovered 3 remarkably well-preserved Incan mummies buried in ceremonial graves. These weren't victims of a tragedy, they were part of a sacred ritual known as Capacocha, where children were sacrificed to the gods. Thanks to the freezing temperatures, even their skin, hair, and blood were intact after centuries. This discovery stunned researchers, not just because of the ritual, but because such pristine preservation in such a hostile environment is incredibly rare. Underwater tombs of the Gulf of Mexico, the Tulum Cave Graves. In 2020, divers exploring underwater caves in Tulum, Mexico, made a breathtaking discovery: human bones buried in deep, submerged chambers. These remains date back more than 9,000 years, to a time when those caves were dry. Back then, during the Ice Age, sea levels were much lower. As the climate warmed, the rising waters flooded the caves, turning them into hidden tombs. One skeleton, nicknamed Naya, is among the oldest and most complete Paleo-American remains ever found. These underwater graves provide a rare look into ancient life and burial practices hidden away beneath the sea. The Sahara Desert's Green Graveyard. The Sahara Desert is known today as one of the harshest, driest places on Earth. But 10,000 years ago, it was completely different. At a site called Goro, archaeologists discovered dozens of ancient graves in what used to be a lush, lakeside region full of wildlife. These burials belong to 2 distinct groups, the Kiffian and Tenran cultures, separated by thousands of years. One especially touching find was a woman buried holding hands with 2 children, likely her family. These graves prove the Sahara was once fertile and full of life. That a thriving community once existed in today's barren desert completely changes our view of the region's history. Ampere Grave beneath a London parking lot. In the heart of modern London, beneath the concrete and asphalt of a busy parking lot, archaeologists uncovered something completely unexpected: a mass grave. Over 50 skeletons were found stacked together, some missing heads, others showing signs of disease. These weren't organized burials, but rather hurried deposits. The location was completely undocumented, shocking historians who expected to find utility lines, not a burial pit. Researchers now believe the grave might date back to the time of the Black Plague, or perhaps even earlier, linked to Roman or medieval execution sites. This disturbing discovery highlights how layers of history can still lie hidden beneath everyday modern spaces. Cave in the Philippines, a new human species. On Luzon Island in the Philippines, the exploration of Callao Cave led to a groundbreaking discovery: a 67,000-year-old human foot bone. But this was just the beginning. As excavations continued, more bones emerged that didn't match any known species. Scientists named this new species Homo luzonensis. These individuals were small, with curved toes and unusual anatomical features. What's especially puzzling is their burial deep within a remote cave system, raising questions about how and why they were placed there. It's as if their graves were hidden purposefully, buried in what could be considered the basement of a mountain. the mysterious burial of Rupkund Lake, India. High in the Indian Himalayas, 16,000 feet above sea level, lies Rupkund Lake, an icy crater that occasionally melts to reveal hundreds of skeletons floating in the water or lying along the edges. Initially thought to be the result of a single disaster, DNA analysis later proved the bones belonged to several unrelated groups from different time periods, some from as early as 800 AD, others as recent as the 1802. No mass tragedy could explain such diversity. Why people from different centuries ended up buried in this frozen, remote lake remains one of history's strangest mysteries. The Atakama Desert's tiny skeleton. In Chile's vast Atakama Desert, a bizarre discovery baffled scientists in 2003. A tiny skeleton, only 6 inches long, was found wrapped in cloth and buried near an abandoned church. With a cone-shaped skull and only 10 ribs, it sparked theories of extraterrestrial origin. However, DNA tests proved it was indeed human, a female with severe bone mutations. Though less than a century old, her burial raised many questions. Why was she laid to rest in such an isolated place? Who took care to wrap and hide her? Her case remains one of the most mysterious human burials ever found. The Cliffside burial caves of Papua New Guinea. In Papua New Guinea, the Anga people followed an extraordinary burial tradition. Instead of burying their dead underground, they placed them in vertical caves, carved into sheer limestone cliffs, often reachable only after dangerous climbs. Some of these cliffside tombs date back hundreds of years, and many bodies remain preserved thanks to smoke and dry air that naturally mummified the corpses. One cave, high above a valley, holds dozens of ancient figures overlooking the land like watchful guardians. These graves defy gravity, logic, and modern construction, making them some of the most remarkable burial sites in the world. The Viking warrior woman in Berka, Sweden. In 1878, archaeologists excavated a grand Viking grave in Berka, Sweden, loaded with weapons, armor, and even war horses. Everything suggesting it belonged to a high-ranking warrior. For over 100 years, everyone assumed the grave occupant was male. But in 2017, DNA analysis revealed a stunning truth. The warrior was a woman. This revelation shattered long-held beliefs about Viking society, proving that female warriors were not just myth or legend, they truly existed. Even more surprising was the grave's placement in a prestigious location traditionally reserved for elite men. This discovery didn't just challenge gender assumptions, it rewrote Viking history itself.